So, what did you find? Did you go back and talk to your families and ask them again about this Christmas thing? What is the most important thing for them at Christmas so that you're not all knocking yourselves out doing things that you think have got to be done for Christmas, but your kids wouldn't even notice if it never happened? Okay, Lindsay.
Okay. Well, it's right here actually. We now have a list, so it kind of backfired. It's like, what's the most important thing to you guys? And they all had like their own two answers. They're all different. So we now definitely need to make sugar cookies and gingerbread houses and Chex Mix. And then there's different places around town they want to go. And we have to eat tamales and Chinese food.
Oh, well, wasn't that
But
nice
they're
that
all
I just
things
did
that we
that to
do.
you?
I know.
Merry
There are
Christmas,
things we
Lindsay.
do. There are things we do anyway. And it actually was like, okay, so these are just our checklist, and it's fun. It's all good.
That's funny.
And I thought it was funny that most of it was food related, but
Oh,
that's
I'm
just
not
us.
surprised in the least bit that the Bunting's list is food.
Yeah, we're all about food over here.
Yeah, I have my brother-in-law, and sister-in-law. So Kristen, you know Kristen, most of you know Kristen, and Michael. They took their family on a Route 66 tour, and they went, way out to the start, and then came all the way through, and ended up on the Santa Monica Pier. But the whole motivation for their trip was all the places to stop and eat. I mean, that Michael had that all figured out, so that was his thing. But so now here's the thing: just because you poll your children, your family, and find out what are the most important things, doesn't mean you have to do all of those every year, right? You can pick something off the list that are the things that they love, and then take off the list any of the things that you thought had to be there that they didn't. But that's super funny. Okay, so Linnell says Ruben, for him, it's the lights. The lights in Mankato, is that in Minnesota?
Yeah, it's about an hour south of us here in Minnesota, Mankato, and it has tons of lights, and you can drive through or you can walk around, and they go every year, and that's one of the kids' highlights.
That's really fun. Okay, Benji decorating the tree. Okay, nice. Isn't it nice when it's stuff you're going to do anyway? Sammy making paper snowflakes and gingerbread cookies. Nathan, Christmas lights, Christmas in lights drive through. So is that also that Mankato thing? Anyway, you don't have to answer. I'm sorry. You're trying to get ready.
That's a different one. I maybe I misspelled it. Christmas in color. It's in several states, but that one's just a drive through, and you tune into the radio and drive around and see the lights.
Gotcha. We have kind of a walking one that's probably sort of like that. And then she wants to watch Mr. Grinch. Cute. We just watched that last night. That's a good list. I like it. Okay, anybody else? Have any of you thought about things that you want to try to, I don't know, just make your Christmas season a little more meaningful? Things that make it a little bit easier for mom? Haha, Melanie's got the same problem Lindsay has, sounds like. I showed my kids the master list of ideas we do some of each year and asked them which ones they wanted to do, telling them we wouldn't have time to do them all. Between all of the kids, they each wanted almost everything and all the treats to be on the must-do list. Sorry. Yeah, somehow we have to learn to phrase that question. I don't know how. Oh, Little House on the Prairie. Okay, is that a place? Why are we thinking Little House on the Prairie when you hear Mankato? And am I saying it right or wrong?
Mankato. So
Mankato.
in Little House on the Prairie, that's where it's like the big city. That's where they go
Oh,
from their little town. I forget the name. They're Walnut Creek. So from Walnut Creek, they go to Mankato if they need to like go into town. Yeah, right.
I
Haley
not
knows. Haley's with me.
Okay, all right. So that same thing. I thought it sounded familiar, but I thought, well, I don't know any, cities there where Linnell is, I mean, other than big cities. So, okay, that's fun. Good for you for remembering that. Okay, and I love this. Charlie Brown Christmas premiered December 9th, 1965. I was a year old, just FYI. So we are watching it tonight. That is a great thing to do, to have it be on the anniversary of that show premiering. I love that one. That's probably my favorite, except for the Christ Child. I love that one now. But I love Charlie Brown Christmas. I love it. I am so missing my missionary right now because he would be playing those songs all the time. So I hear him on Mondays if he's at a building when he calls and he's playing them in the background. But so I had a fun Christmassy sort of just fun thing to start off the season. You know, when you're a mom, things can happen to anybody in your family, and it's like it happened to you, you know, because your heart is so connected to their hearts, right? And so oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry already. That's not a good thing. Okay, so the other day, well, Thanksgiving, Kate and Jamin and Charlie were in Utah. They were having Thanksgiving in Utah, and that was, you know, awesome. They were having it with his family and enjoying that so much. And then on Saturday, when they were leaving to go back up to Idaho, they had Michael's Christmas presents, and they knew to go drop those off at the mission office. And so they did that. And while they were there, somehow, you know, just information got, you know, out to all the right people, and they got permission to go meet up with Michael in a parking lot to get to go see him, and for Michael to get to meet Charlie. And so I got pictures all of a sudden that just popped up that were Kate and Jamin and Charlie and Michael. And it was just the sweetest thing. It made my heart so happy. And then Sarah was right there. Sarah snaps a picture of me crying, you know, and sends it to the rest of the kids, you know, to show them. Anyway, I just put cutie, you know, on it, which was sweet. Anyway, and then I get another picture, and it's Kate and Michael hugging, and they're just dear friends. They are the youngest two and have been missing each other so much, and Michael has missed out on these big things, you know, Kate becoming a mom and having this darling little baby and everything. Anyway, so that was sweet. And then this cutest picture of Charlie, and he's reaching out and kind of playing with Michael's name tag, and Michael got permission to hold Charlie too, which was just so tender, because Michael loves babies. And then they were getting ready to say goodbye, and they said, you know, where are you going next? They said, well, we've got a dinner appointment. In fact, we're just probably a tiny bit late. And they said, well, let us take you. And so they drove Michael and his companion to their dinner appointment, dropped him off, and Michael's comes home October 4th. You know, who's counting? Don't look at my phone. I don't have a countdown on my phone. Anyway, I couldn't help it. I waited till after a year before I started the countdown, and then I started it. Anyway, they dropped him off at this place and then left. And the couple, when they walked in, he said, sorry, we're a little bit late. My sister was in town and just dropped us off. What? You call them, have them come back, have them come have dinner. And so they came back and had dinner with this sweet couple. The lady was a piano teacher for 50 something years, found out Michael could play, and, you know, made him play her piano. And so Kate said it was the sweetest thing, because she'd been missing Michael so much and missing hearing him. And she got to stand there with her baby and listen. She said, I was just rocking Charlie, standing by the Christmas tree, listening to Michael play all the familiar songs that are Christmas to me. And she said, oh, it was such a beautiful way to start off this Christmas season. Anyway, just melted my heart, made me so happy. And they're just these little tender mercies. Just these sweet little things. But gosh, family means so much. These relationships are so important. So if you do nothing else, just spend time with your family, get your families to relax. I guess asking them what they wanted was maybe not a good idea, but just prayerfully decide what things you want to do with your families, so that that time you spend together is sweet, so that you create these memories and these associations where just seeing each other can make your children and your family members so happy, just being able to reconnect. The other ones are all coming home for Christmas, and we're just so excited. That's going to be so wonderful to have them home. So anyway, it was just a very sweet and a lovely thing for me to have that experience, which, like I said, it didn't happen to me, but your hearts are so incredibly connected to your children that it's the same as if it happened to you, isn't it? Anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you. So what are you doing? How are you helping yourself to hang on to what you want to feel at Christmas time? Because it really can get hard when you're trying to make sure you've got the gifts that you want. Not that the gifts are the most important thing to you. Of course they're not, but you still want to make sure that part gets taken care of and things, people are, I don't know, feel loved or things are balanced or whatever it is that stresses you out about gifts. There's that part of it. Taking care of people around you, serving, things like that. The service opportunities don't stop. You don't feel like you have time for them, but they don't stop. I don't know, decorating and making cookies and all the things, how are you helping yourself stay feeling joy at Christmas? Or if you're not, what can you do? Let's talk about that. What are some ways that as mamas we can still hang on to or find joy in Christmas? Don't be shy. I know you have thoughts, and I also, especially if someone's kind of struggling, let's talk about that because it can be really hard.
All right, I'll go. I always have thoughts.
Good.
So I was totally struggling. I was like, gosh, I'm so overwhelmed and I feel like I need to serve more and I don't know who I'm supposed to serve. And I was just kind of all these thoughts and I was overwhelmed by stuff. And then it's actually something you said, Lori, at church. And at first I was like, that's not the answer. You're like, just serve your family. Like, stop, like, it's fine. Just serve your kids and your family. And I was like, well, that's not the answer. Like, but honestly, I've thrown myself into that and just making the house cozy and serving people and making sure that we have dinner on the table every night and we sit there and bringing people hot chocolate and just random, I don't, just little things where I'm just home. I'm not running around. I don't have anything else to go do. I'm here and my kids can come and go and I'm here and I sit with them. I know it sounds so simple, but it has made such a difference in just the holiday feel of our home and just drying oranges to hang over the window, like simple things that have just really made a difference in our home and not worrying too much about what are we going to do outside the home, but just really focusing on us. And and then those opportunities still pop up. So it was like one of those first things first type of moments, like, oh yeah, if I focus on our family, then we're naturally inclined to serve outside of our home once that feeling of that spirit's in our home. So it's been good.
I'm so glad. I'm really glad to hear that you found that. And I think I saw something this morning. I can't remember what it was, but it was, I don't know why the picture went with it, but it was just two fingers and they were dressed up like a bride and a groom and a little heart painted between the two fingers. I don't know. But it said something about don't give, I don't know, like a healthy or a good relationship or something comes out of giving your best, not giving what's left over, And I think so many times moms get caught up in all kinds of other things and they spend very little time just being with their family, like doing the little things Lindsay was talking about, just the basic things, but doing them with love really does help your family to feel loved. And I don't know about you ladies, but I don't know. And some of us were, who had talked about fascinating womanhood for a while and things like that. But the more I have been very present here and really attending to my sweetheart, he just wants to be where I am. He wants to be in the room where I am. He wants to hang out with me. He looks for, reasons to just do things together. It's amazing how much that just, I don't know, just being present. And the same thing happens with our children. You know, I don't know if you can think back, but think about times when maybe things were feeling a little out of control and you were feeling overwhelmed. If you could just take 5 minutes a day per child and actively do something with them. I mean, really give them your full attention. It's amazing what 5 minutes will do and how long that will carry them. I, I think that we get in our minds the wrong picture, you know, that it just takes our 24/7 constant attention and we can't get anything else done. It's not that, but we do need to be present here and there, really genuinely present, and it makes a difference. Linnell, were you going to share something?
Lindsay made me think of an activity that we went to on Saturday. Every year, there's an Item Homestead. It's very close to my house. And they are a farm from the 50s or early 1900s here in Minnesota. And so they've preserved the farm, and they have staff host this activity for families to come. And it's supposed to be I don't know, like a Swedish maybe type of event. And so they dress in the period clothing, and you can see all the artifacts in the home, and they have some activities for the children to participate in. Like you take an orange and then you put clothes in them. I think it's called a pomander, something like that. And so they have these crafts, and in the kitchen, you walk in and it smells amazing because there's a woman there baking like maybe 5 different treats, and she's dressed in the colonial clothing, not colonial, the time period clothing. And this year, no one was dressed up. And this year, the girl who was doing the treats was working with hard butter. And so the kitchen didn't smell like the normal treats that do. And it made a difference. The activity was completely different. And this is something that I look forward to every year. But this year, it was just like kind of flat. And the only difference that I could see was that they weren't dressed in their clothing, and they didn't have the kitchen prepared. And those were my highlights. Those are what I always look forward to. And I have lots of other activities, like you can string popcorn and cranberries for the tree, or you can color pictures. And so they do have a lot of activities, but those were my highlights. And because they weren't there, it just wasn't the same. And so as I left that activity, I was really thinking how something so small, such as wearing the dress that she had, made it feel special. And it immersed us in this environment and this experience. And then those smells of the kitchen and being able to taste that were huge. And so by the time it was a 3-hour event, I think, and people can just come and go. And we never got to try the cookies because she was trying to work that butter, and they tried to do it with the kitchen materials that they have. So they're not going to use a microwave, and she just had to do it by hand and set it by the fire to soften it. And she was trying the best that she could to keep it the same process. And so we left, and we still didn't try the cookies. And my son later, he said, "Can we go back and see if the cookies are ready?" And so even for him, it was meaningful to have those cookies, and we didn't have it. And so it wasn't the same. So it makes me think how Lindsay's talking about, they're just really simple things to really figure out what are those simple things that make us feel that we are experiencing the true meaning of Christmas. And it's not a lot. Like they could have just put on a dress, and that would have made a difference for me.
Right. You even just had like mulled spices, you know, and cider or something on the stove. I mean, you know, if they were in a pinch, right? Yeah, Haley.
Linnell, I love that you shared that. Oh my goodness. Like as you were talking, I was just having these like memories come back of my grandma wearing Christmas sweaters and her Christmas apron and all those things. And I don't think I ever thought about it like that, you know, that we do. We remember people's clothes, and we remember those tiny little things. Like that's what our memories are made up of. And I don't know, it just made me think also this morning, so right now is like crazy because my husband puts up permanent Christmas lights. He sells them and helps them be installed and stuff. And so this is like the craziest time of year for my husband. And so it's really hard trying to like keep that simple spirit sometimes, like, cause I want to do more, you know, I want to, with our morning devotional, I want to sing Christmas songs, and I want to, you know, do all these extra things with Christmas, but it was really humbling this morning. My husband had to leave extra early, and so he's like, I've got to go soon, so let's do, our devotional. And so he just came in and just shared a scripture with us, and we said our prayer, and I realized it is really just fine to just do those simple things. They are enough. They're enough to bring the Spirit into our lives. And you don't have to focus on all the bigger things, even though it's really fun to pull them in when you can. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I love that. And I was thinking too, while both of you were talking, I thought, it might be that the things that are on your children's list, while it looks like a lot of items to you, it might just be that they're searching for that time with mom, or that time with mom and dad, that family time. And at least in their little, memories, those are the things or the times where they felt that. So it's probably not so much that you have to do those things, but that you're together and that you're there, right? That you're really there with them. I don't know. I don't know. I know that. I mean, I just felt that really strongly, because it is not so much the things, it's just being there together, right? I love when we read old stories, and the mother is there, is present, and it's the children come to see where mother is, and just that knowing she's there gives them confidence, right? And they feel better just knowing mother is there. It's that kind of thing. I love stories like that. I love having those feelings. And I hope that I created some of that, with my children. And I think that those things take a lot less effort than the things that we try to replace that with. Because Heavenly Father's plan is not for things to be over the top crazy. It's to be simple. It's simple and doable. Like the discussions we've had with Melissa before, from that old textile book that she found. Oh, come on, somebody help me remember, that talked about a mother's life is all the jobs and things that she does, they are interruptible. The chores and tasks and things that a mother does are interruptible, and that's important for that to be like that. And how many times, are we tempted to, or sometimes we do, shoo our children off to do something else so we can finish the thing that that we're trying to do, rather than allowing them to interrupt us and give them our attention for that moment or two that they're going to need, and then go back to what we're doing. It's not to make you feel guilty, right? None of this. It's just looking at opportunities we have to do something in a simpler way and get a lot of mileage out of it. Yeah, Melissa.
Hey, Lori. I actually have that book right in front of me. And I wanted to read that paragraph again, because there's a part that we don't focus on when we discuss it.
Oh, good.
I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but basically it says, if the productive labor of women is not to be lost to society during the childbearing years, the jobs regularly assigned to women must be carefully chosen to be compatible with simultaneous child watching. From empirical observation, Brown gleans that such activities have the following characteristics. They do not require rapt concentration and are relatively dull and repetitive. They are easily interruptible and easily resumed once interrupted. They do not place the child in potential danger, and this is the part that kind of stood out today, and they do not require the participant to range very far from the home. And I feel like in today's society, that's not valued quite as much as it has been in the past. So I was just kind of thinking,
I love that.
What can we do that doesn't cause us to range very far from the home? How does that affect our children?
Yeah. And what a blessing if we're in that situation, and how nice to have something spell that out and let us be reminded that that's a really good thing, and that is a huge blessing for our children. Oh, Melissa, thank you for sharing that. I love that. And somebody asked, it popped up, if we could somehow share that somewhere, either on the Facebook group or something.
I'll
I'll bet you we can talk Melissa into doing that.
I'll have to type it up on the Teach Our Hearts or something at some
Okay,
point.
perfect. Perfect. Oh, I love it. Yeah, Linnell.
That reminds me of the presenter on Mighty Networks, the sculptor. I don't remember her name, but she was talking. One of the questions that mom asked was, how do I develop my talents and do these creative activities if I'm so busy in motherhood? And I appreciated her answer. She said, just do it with them. And we've talked about this before, but her own experience and just the magnitude of her craft, and for her to be like, yeah, I just grab my grandkids a clump of clay and let them have at it. It's a different mindset, I think, where our children aren't inconveniencing us, but we want to help them develop their potential, allow them opportunities to explore their interests, and let them do it alongside us. And so, as Melissa's talking about doing the things in the home,
Mm-hmm.
I think the mindset shift is that I'm doing my sculpting, and so I can't be interrupted, versus, hey, why don't you do it next to me? And our children will be more than happy to do that.
Right. No, I like that. I like that. That's good. Thanks for sharing that. And I think also somehow we've got the idea that we should have uninterrupted time, that we should be able to pursue some things on our own, separate from our children. And that really doesn't happen until they're not living in your home anymore. I mean, I don't think should be an expectation, but it sure became one. And I think social media definitely adds to that. You know, you have this feeling like, I need me time. I need, and this picture of working as a mother with your children there alongside you is a lovely picture. It is an old-fashioned and considered outdated kind of picture of home and family life, but that's not true. That can be in any one of our homes if that's how we decide to pursue it. And I love the idea that that is still attainable, that is still something you can have if you choose that. You could create that type of atmosphere in your home. I know moms who have worked hard to help teach, train, nurture their children to play beside them while they do things. Now, that isn't always picture perfect, but it can be something that you're working on. And if you have this mindset of being interruptible, rather than feeling resentment, like kind of taking offense that, well, you interrupted me. How dare you interrupt me? I'm busy. Can't you see I'm busy? And I see that attitude like very strongly sometimes in moms who just have become confused, and if you could help them and yourself to get back to that feeling of, wow, how wonderful that the things I'm doing can be interrupted and I can be there for my children. It's just this little bit of a mind shift. Then, because Satan knows what he's doing. I'm reading the Screw Tape letters over and over lately. And the little tiny ways that Wormwood talks about, or he talks to Wormwood about how we do this, how we're able to get them onto our side. Oh, those are the things that happen all the time. Just a tiny little mind shift. And where you take mothers from being completely content in their home life to feeling like, this, I need more, I want more, and I shouldn't, and this shouldn't, and this should, and all these other ideas about it, where truly our natures, our divine nature kind of dictates that we can be happy with those things. We just have to tune into that part of us. And it's kind of like the living in our true identity, that the natural man versus this one that we kind of hone and refine, that Brooke Snow talks about. Oh, sorry, we just missed Lindsay. Anyway, yeah, Ida.
You guys watch that interview that Marlene shared she shared it on the Mind Networks. I don't know if she shared it on Facebook too, but it was an interview with a woman who wrote a book called The Invincible Family, and it was with Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
That was really, really good. Really, really good. Like I don't always listen to him because but this interview that he did, he's done a couple actually recently that people had shared with me, and I was like, wow, those are so good. But I love, he talked about women are so powerful. They're so powerful because they own children. Children belong to women, and they have such power in that role. And that is why Satan is working so hard to get women to give up that responsibility, because he knows the power that they wield. And I was just like, it was so profound hearing those things. Like, I was like, yeah, duh. But then I realized, like, like in the world, they're like, women are so powerless. They need to, like, they're burdened by childcare and taking care of their families and being at home. And like, it's like their servants, and like just totally turning that all on its head. Right. And to have that kind of like, it was just a shift in my thought. I was like, yeah, that's why Satan's attacking women so much. That's why he's attacking that role so much, because that is a powerful role. And that is why the family is so powerful, because they have this connection with children, this belonging within a family, and this influence that no one else has. And so the sooner you can relinquish that and give it up to somebody else, then guess what? You lose your power, right? You're trading it for the, you're wanting the dime store pearls instead of the real ones.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was such an interesting, like, really helped me to really wrap, like, you see things and it's like it's all around, and then all of a sudden somebody puts it into words and you're like, yes, that's it, that's what's going on.
Right. It's like brings the picture into focus or something. Like, yes, that. Yes. I loved that interview. It was powerful.
So good.
It actually makes me want to buy her book just to support that, So this is this Invincible Family.
I want to read her book, and also I'm like, I want to support people who are doing things like this. This is good. Anyway, your comment made me think about that.
Good. I love that you shared it. Thank you. And Lindsay, you were going to share something. Do you remember?
I don't. I was sitting here trying to remember. I think I was just kept thinking of the thought that I actually felt less overwhelmed as a mother the more I am present. Like, I know I keep talking in circles here, but the more I focus on my kids and focus on my home, then they feel more like taken care of. They actually bother you less, and the house doesn't get so overwhelming. Like, it's this funny phenomenon that you put more time into something and then it actually takes less of your time. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, and here, Lindsay gives us a little summary, and it's perfect. The more we embrace it, the more empowered we are. And it's so true. It's so true. They feel secure, protected, confident, something, and so they are less likely to do those other kinds of behaviors. Not that's not ever going to happen, but I really think that's how you have these kinds of homes, these old-fashioned mothers, all of those stories that we love to read, but I kind of feel like, well, that's not realistic. That doesn't happen anymore. Not true. Don't believe that for a second. You can have exactly that same thing. I thought it was the sweetest thing, that one post on Mighty Networks a while back, where the mom talked about how she had been reading those stories to her children, and her son started calling her mother because he loved that in the story. That's what the children called their mom, was mother. There's something beautiful about that word, just hearing it and then saying it. And he wanted to say it. He wanted to call her mother. And she said the other moms on the playground would kind of look at her funny, like, how is your child saying that, And gosh, what a simple thing that we've got away from. What a simple but beautiful and powerful thing. Okay, Cadence is sitting in her lovely corner. I love it. I love it. Do you have time? Do you have something to share? I'd love to hear from you, sweetie. No?
I guess I could share one thing. You were talking earlier about what we really wanted, us as moms, to figure out what we wanted this season. And I figured out what I wanted. And that was to be able to sit next to my husband and have him put his arm around me and tell me that he loves me, and just be together, not doing anything else, not anyway. And I just wanted to have a lot of that this season. And it's been really sweet to see him try to make that happen, because it feels like he cares. I really love it. What was the
I
other
love
thing?
that.
I forgot what it is, but when I remember, I'll say it.
Okay, good. Good. I love that. I love that. That's what you chose for your thing. I mean, that's what you realized you were feeling, and that brings you such happiness. I love it. Yeah, Lindsay Bunting.
That reminds me, when we were making our list, everyone was throwing out what they wanted to do. And I just kind of looked at my husband and I'm like, what do I want to do? I don't even know what it is that I love to do at Christmas time. I just like to be with my family. And he reminded me of the thing I like to do. He's like, you like to go look at the Christmas display at the tire shop. There's a guy, Lori knows them, and Laura. That's my favorite thing. And because it's all, what is on my head? And that's because we're all together as a family, and we just stand there next to each other, and the kids have their arms around each other, and it's just like my favorite, sweetest moment of Christmas. But I love that my husband knew that's what I loved, and I couldn't think of it.
Yeah, and I just want to remind you all too that when you're doing things with your husband, like maybe you're out working, we were working on a project and we had been very successful. We were making lots of progress, and I said something like, oh, I want to hurry up and get this done so that we have plenty of time to spend time together this evening. And he said, what are we doing right now? Aren't we spending time together? And he said, are you not enjoying this? And I said, oh my goodness, thank you for saying that. You're right. All of these things that we do, together are being together. And that was just a few months ago, not very long ago, but it kind of helped me bring that back into perspective. And now I just, every little silly thing, I think I feel like I'm kind of celebrating. I get to hang out with Stephen, so it's just changed. That changing your focus can help you so much. If there are things that you're just thinking, oh, this is not making me happy, try to find a way that you can see can I get a different motivation, to learn to love this. I have a friend who shared with me so many years ago. I think I had one baby, maybe I had two, but she shared with me how she loved to cook dinner for her family. She said, I put so much love into the food that I cook. And when I serve it, when I put it on the table, I am giving my family so much of my love. And she said that helps cooking and cleaning up afterwards from being negative for me, and turns it into a beautiful thing. And that was a really important lesson for me. It's when I remember and then forget it, remember and forget. But when I'm remembering it, it just helps everything to be more meaningful and stay in focus.
I just
David,
want to
did you
say,
remember?
yeah, I just want to say how much I love reading those stories with the kind, patient mothers. I like seeing the ideal presented there. I am not bothered by it. It doesn't bother me. It's a good thing. I like it because I imagine what it would be like to be that, because I find myself so impatient all the time. Like I'm just, okay, you get over there and you do that, and this is what we're doing, and I don't like that. I don't like it. And yet somehow I'm always into that, or there's something going on that just sets me off. It's not the kids, it's something else that's going on. And then I'm just mad. And so I've been that way recently. So I've also been sick. So I'm trying to figure out, and being patient with myself as well, but I just love it. I love the peace that I would want to be around the person like that, and I want to be that person. How do I get there? I don't know yet, but I'm gonna keep reading it. And hopefully that influence will spill over more, and as I practice too. And I feel like I'm getting better at it. I'm not quite as, I don't know, it comes and goes, but so feel encouraged, because it's still good to move toward an ideal and make mistakes than it is not to move toward anything and just, I don't know, coast. So
Yeah.
that's all. It's just so beautiful. So beautiful. We finished Little Lord Fauntleroy, and I was like, oh, if only we could be like that. Just such kindness and genuine love.
Oh, I think that's so good. It's so good that you can see the beauty in that and that it doesn't discourage you from those goals, that you just get kind of swallowed up in it. Cadence is laughing. Lindsay put, I cannot picture you mad, Cadence. You're so sweet. And,
I'm really
oh,
good at it.
we all have that. We all have that side that can come out, for me, I was just such a drill sergeant, let's just get it done. And but yes, having an ideal is so good. And if we cannot feel discouraged and just hold that up as encouragement and motivation, and I believe when we fill our lives with those things, that it does help us. We do change over time, and we get closer and closer to whatever it is that our ideals are. But don't discount the power of prayer in that. If there's an area of your life that you're looking to refine, ask Heavenly Father for help, because He will just start pouring into your life resources or examples or opportunities for those things to come. It's pretty amazing what He does for us, But anyway, I
Well,
love that. Thanks for
my
sharing that.
kids get apologies all the time from me, so I'll be just known as that parent who is constantly apologizing because I'm constantly doing something. But that's okay. It's a good thing. I feel like it's a step up from, maybe where my generation was, or my parents' generation. Like,
Right,
at least they're getting an apology.
right.
That just means they'll be really good at apologizing. You're showing them that all the time.
Yeah, and forgiving. And the thing is I think that each of our children get the parents that they need. Heavenly Father's not making mistakes in that area. He's not. And there are situations where we can say, hold on, Lori, you're not right. Because what about this situation? Or what about that situation? I don't know the answer, but I'm gaining confidence that He knows, and it's okay, and it's going to be okay. I just can't see it. I can't understand it or figure it out. But
I just had one more thing to share. I'm sorry, too much sharing. But I've just been noticing. So my kids go to public school, but at home we just do all the well-educated heart stuff. But my children, when the art book came for this month, the Italy one, I opened it and was talking to my son about something, and I just realized how much he loves art and is willing to look at it and notices things in it. And all my kids, they all do that, and that's so rare. And I just felt this moment of success, like, yes, they are loving it. There's something that I'm doing is sticking. They're enjoying it. They're noticing things, they're pointing things out, they're appreciating it. The second thing was that we've been doing the symphony stories, and then sometimes when we're listening to the classical radio, we'll hear a song that we listened to, and that happened today, and it was so fun. We were like, yes, this is a Henry Purcell song, this is great. And so we're like, oh, hopefully we have time for one more song before the drop off, and we did, and it was just great. So another moment of success, and I just feel happy about that, because there's so many moments of either I'm having an issue or a kid's having an issue, and it's just like, are we doing anything good today?
And isn't that sweet that we get opportunities to see that, yeah, we are. Yes, we are. We are doing something good, something sticking. I love it. And Ida, you were going to share something.
I was gonna say, I feel you, Cadence. Right there with you, lady. Working so hard to be more, but um, I've loved reading. Like we've been reading Christmas stories, and I gotten out of the habit of like reading to my kids at nighttime. But I just love doing that, and it's like so um heartwarming for me. And then I feel like maybe they're actually getting something out of it instead of like during the day I try to read and they're, I think probably all my kids have ADHD. I don't know. Maybe me. I don't know. So I'm just like, all right, well, we'll try this at night when you're all in bed. And I've loved that and love reading these just beautiful, heartwarming stories. And I was going to say too, you know, like Heavenly Father does send us to the parents we're meant to have. And the thing is that everyone has agency, right? And so sometimes things don't work out the way that they're made. Ideally we're supposed to, but maybe they do. And Heavenly Father still is in the details, right? Like I love reading in the Book of Mormon about like Laman and Lemuel and their children, and like the Heavenly Father is so merciful to them because of the shortcomings of their parents, and like he makes up for those things in beautiful ways to compensate them for things that they weren't able to receive, you know. So I think that that is um very true, right? Anyways, and then I was thinking too, I loved I've been just like kind of really trying to focus on the Mothers University topics, and we had such a good time with the nature topic, and it was so fun to see how that was like impacting my kids. Just trying to just focus on that. Like everything else, I was like, I'm just gonna try to make sure like we're doing other things, but I was like, that's what my emphasis is gonna be for Well Educated Heart. And this last month was music, and music I love, but it's not been one of my like strengths as far as like trying to like incorporate it into our home. Like I mean I do, but like I feel like I wanted to do more. And my kids were in this choir, they've been in this choir, and I hate it. I love the singing and I love the music, but it's very like they're very sometimes a little bit okay, so my brother's in it too, and I said, what do you think? And he's like, well, it's kind of like Hitler Youth, except for they're Christian and really into singing. I was like, that's kind of what it feels like, but singing is beautiful. And so I've been kind of like having this sort of bad attitude about it, but I've been trying to like just bite my tongue, but my kids know how I'm feeling about it. But I was like, I know this will be a great experience for them. So I got them into this choir and they're enjoying it. And some of them are enjoying it more than others, but they were hesitant to say anything to me about it because they were like, well, mom doesn't really like it. She doesn't really want to take us to the choir anymore. And I was just like, I just need to like have a better attitude. But our ward has a choir, and I'm like, I'm gonna join the ward choir because I love to sing. And I have always felt like I'm not very good at singing, but I'm like, I'm just gonna try it. And I'm not gonna like sometimes you go to a choir and they're like super like they know everything about singing. You're like, I'm just gonna stand in the back and sing really quiet. Maybe nobody will hear me. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel when I go to music stuff. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's a little over like just intimidating. That's the word. But I'm like, this lady who is the choir director, she's musical, and but she's never directed a choir before, but she's like her daughter's in there and they know a lot about music, but they're also very just not like that. They're just like, hey, let me tell you something, or I can help you or whatever. And they're very much into like everybody learns together, right? So I joined the choir and it's been so wonderful and I've been loving it. And I feel like I'm learning a lot about music myself. And it's been heartwarming for me. And it's also helped me to have a better attitude about the kids' choir. But it's also interesting, like, just trying to like find ways to um, share, like to love music, you know, and have those experiences. How much that's impacting my kids. It's very interesting because they're like, Mom, I've never heard you sing like that before. Like, why aren't you in the choir? And I'm like, well, that one costs money, so I'm just gonna do the ward choir. But like having them see me singing in church, and then they were like, I want to be in that choir too, and wanting to sing with me, and like being more comfortable too singing the songs that they're learning and sharing them in the house, and wanting to like, they found this piano thing, or my daughter found this guitar, simply guitar, and she's like, they have a piano one too, which I heard about before. And so the kids are like, we want to try it, so they tried it, and they were like, this is so great, we want to do, like, constantly doing lessons, and they're loving it. But it's been so fun to see that, and like realizing like their enthusiasm and their excitement about music is growing. And it's like um I think it had a lot to do with like me just like trying to like distract myself from the my
Mhm.
with this choir, and like just trying to bring music into my heart, you know. And then I've um just started on the art book, and I'm super excited about that because art's something that I've always loved. But just reading the first section of that book, and like thinking about those things that they talk about, like the difference between like real art and just a picture, like real art like it's not just a drawing of something, there's a message there, right? Like there's a beautiful message. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. But like, it's not just like, it's a technical drawing. You can just draw a flower and it's a technical drawing, but you can draw something that has a message, and then it's like inspiring, right? It touches your heart, like you can feel the emotion of the picture. And learning about some of the meanings behind pictures um, just makes it a little bit more, beautiful, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a locked out love. Is I was reading this thing that Marlene shared, this article, and there's this person who's like it's Cupid, and he's locked out of this. It's supposed to be like a burial site, and you don't know that. You just see him standing at the store, this naked Cupid, right, just from the back. And you're like, what is this? Well, then you learn it's this person who painted it. Her husband had recently died, and this was like, he was buried, and it was like her love. She was locked, like kind of locked away from that, like her. And so in this painting is her grief, like you could see it. And it was like, wow, that's really a beautiful message and meaning behind that painting. And it's also just a beautiful, technically too, anyways, seeing those moments, it's like, okay, we are we are having success, but sometimes it's, especially this time of year, like I feel like I should be feeling more success, but instead I'm like, oh, the things, ah! And I didn't hear what you said last week about making a list, but I'm like, I need to do that. I need to just sit down with kids and be like, okay, guys, what's really important this Christmas for us? And that will help. Hopefully they stay reading stories, but if they don't, I don't care. I'm going to read them anyways because it's for me.
Well, so maybe the right thing, maybe the better thing is, Mom, write your list. What is your list that you feel inspired to do for your family, right?
Yeah,
That's
because
going to be the thing.
when you have 9 kids and they all like a couple different things, that can get to be a lot real fast. No, never
Yeah,
mind.
well, I knew you missed that last week and I did not fill you in. So that- you don't need a list from 9 kids, I don't think. Anyway, yeah, I think that maybe what I'm learning from this is, mother, you make the list, and that's what you do with your family, and they're blessed by that. And I love this because I love that too, Cadence, being in your tree. Lindsay Watkins said, I love that you just put us in your tree. I loved feeling like you loved us enough to include us in your decorations. So in my group with the young women, I invited them to share parts of their home, like the decorated parts of their home that they love, just spots that they think are are sweet and special. And the first one on was Lindsay, and I loved it. So Lindsay Bunting was on to share her Christmas, some of her things. And then Madeline came on next, and that's all we've heard from so far. So I think that would be fun for us to do that. We could do that in our group. Yeah, this is one of the things Lindsay showed. This is her Christ tree, actually.
I know. That
And
was
of
the
course
funny
you have
part.
dinosaurs underneath your, yeah.
I know. So it's the tree with all of our like nativity pieces and things. And then I had these little ornaments from my grandmother, like little disco balls. And I was like, well, it'll work because they're like the light of Christ, right? And then there's one hung down low, and then one of the kids put these little dinosaurs underneath it. And so now they're having a little party. That's one of
Dinosaurs
our,
and the flamingo. Don't miss
that's
the
one of our,
flamingo. Yeah.
oh yeah, well, that's our favorite part now.
Oh, I love it. But I love that we get to share little parts of us with each other. I love that about here. This has been really sweet, really, really nice. We'll do a lot of reflecting over things that were said in this conversation. So thank you for that. I love, Ida, what you were talking about. I think there's a magic formula, and every time that mom spends a little bit of time reaching for beauty, the 13th article of faith, that if there's anything virtuous, lovely, or of good report or praiseworthy, we should, as mothers, be seeking after those things, right? And as we do that, it's like this just attached thing where our families begin to appreciate those things more. Our families' hearts are opened up to that. Sorry, I just read your comments. That's funny. Lindsay Watkins, are you leaving? Were you saying bye? Okay, love you. Bye. Yeah, Haley.
So I just wanted to share an experience. We're talking about how, these parents and how everything works out, and, you don't know, but it just works out. I have had some experiences lately that have just I feel like this hole in my heart that I thought that I had. When I was growing up, my parents got divorced when I was just really little, and my mom remarried. But when I was about 12 years old, she got really sick, and she was in bed so much. Before that, she had been working a ton of different jobs and trying to get out of debt and all these things. And so when I was about 12 years old, she got really sick, and our house got really messy, and she's okay now. And she's actually gotten to the point where her health is better than it's been in a long time. And it's been really good. But she has just always thought that us having a messy house just must have been traumatic or something. I don't know. She just always felt bad about it. And the other day I had this opportunity where I had to go into this lady's house that was messy. And it was so interesting because I was talking to my mom about it later. And I said, Mom, you made it so that I can't judge people by the way that their house looks. What a blessing to be able to not judge people. And we walked into this house, and the first thing this lady said was, please don't look at my messy house. And it went straight into my heart, because that is exactly what my mom says when somebody comes into her house. And sorry, there's just so many other experiences I've had that just, you have the parents that you need, and you can get through all their pitfalls. I really believe that. And it can make you a better person, and anyway, I just had to share that with you guys, because it just keeps coming to my mind. But I do believe that there's just so much that we don't know, but God has this beautiful plan of how we can overcome those things.
Thanks, Haley. That's really tender. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, ladies, shall we see if we can glide into this rest of this Christmas season, finding happiness and peace and remembering that what we talked about a while back of slowing down, slowing down and just finding out what do I need to do today? What can I do today for my family? What can I do today for my heart? If you feed your heart, I mean, not a selfish kind of doing what what you want, but finding out what will nurture mother's heart. If you do that, your family will be blessed. Your family will be blessed by that because they'll feel that warmth that comes through you and just warms them all up, lights up your home. I mean, that's a principle I'm beginning to understand more clearly. And I think it's so beautiful. It's really tender and sweet, but mother is the heart of the home. And we have so much power. Linnell, do you have a moment? Do you have something that you'd like to share with us as we head out of here?
Sure. Oops. Look at my view. This is my view out the window of the Airbnb I'm staying at. San Francisco.
California
beautiful.
is beautiful. For all of you who feel bad for us in our politics, just
I was
know
surprised
that
how cold it is here too.
it
Coming
is
from
so
Minnesota, I'm like, oh wow, it's
beautiful.
chilly here.
Yeah.
Haley's sharing about how we have the perfect parents for us, I think just adds to the idea that we are the perfect parents for our children as well. In this past week, we were listening to the nature book about trees. And I think it's the first chapter, it talks about apple blossoms, and the second chapter talks about the work of the bee. And I learned that a bee will keep working on the same flower until it's done. So it'll go to an apple tree and then do all of it. And that makes so much sense, because how silly would that be if only one apple starts growing on your tree, right? No, it doesn't happen. Like the whole tree gets visited by a bee. So the chapter explains a little bit what the bee actually does in order to change a flower into an apple. So I have this poem that I found that talks about a bee and the work of a bee. And I think it goes along well with our work as a mother. And today we started talking about our list of all the things that our children love to do for Christmas that make it special and meaningful. And if we think about Ida and her 9 children, then that's going to be a long list. And if everybody wants to do 2 things, then that's 18 activities that she has to do. And that can be kind of burdensome. It can be kind of heavy to do. Like how Lindsay's kids, they all wanted to do 2 things, but then, if you start asking your kids, what do you want to do? They want to do it all. And so as a mom, that can turn into something overwhelming, and then you don't want to do it at all. And so I think sometimes when we feel overwhelmed, we go to the opposite end and we don't want to do anything. And then, we don't want to get to that side too. So I think one of our opportunities in this season of life around Christmas, but in every month of the year, it doesn't matter if it's December or any other month, we as mothers get to decide what is the most important work to do. And it can be something as simple as wearing the sweaters that Haley remembers her grandma wearing. For us to really think about and spend some time figuring out what are those little things that will make it meaningful for myself and for my children. So I'll read the poem, and then I just have a few thoughts to share about it. It says, "How doth the little busy bee? How doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour and gather honey all the day from every opening flower? How skillfully she builds her cell, how neat she spreads the wax, and labors hard to store it well with the sweet food she makes. In works of labor or of skill, I would be busy too, for Satan finds some mischief still for idle hands to do. In books or work or healthful play, let my first years be past, that I may give for every day some good account at last." I thought that was a sweet poem to help us remember our important role and our significant impact. That the bee is the best little creature to go and turn those flowers into apples. Can you imagine any other insect or even a person? You know, there are people that could go and take care of the flowers, every single one of them, but the bee is the best person. And I think mother is the best person to bring that warmth and that love to this season, to bring acceptance and love to our children and to our home, to make it welcoming and heartwarming and inviting and peaceful. And as we focus on our work as the busy bee, as the mother of our home, we can provide an experience for our children that they will long to return to, that will always stay in their hearts, and that will be with them to allow them to be their own busy bees and to go out and change a whole bunch of other apple blossoms into apples. And so it's an important and meaningful and special work that we have to do. And so as we go through this Christmas season and a brand new year as well, as we remember to do the work of a busy bee and not be idle, because that can also get to us, that we can be the best mothers that we're meant to be for our children.
Oh, perfect. I love that. Thank you for sharing that poem and those thoughts. Lynella, really appreciate it. Thank you all for being in my life. I am so incredibly blessed because I get to spend time with each of you on Fridays. And because so much more than that, I count each of you as a very dear friend. So I'm so grateful. Thank you for being in my life and being who you are. And I love you. And I look forward to someday here or on the other side, hanging out with all of you and just getting to know you better. So thank you. Thank all of you for being you. And yes, have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas season. Merry Christmas to all of you.